leader has a testimony. Our stories, things that we encounter throughout our lives, whether it's a challenge, whether it's something great. But a lot of times we do face challenges that we have to overcome. What strengthened your faith and shaped how you show up for others?
What has really strengthened my faith and how I show up for others is how people have shown up for me, right? I can think about even in hard moments of my life, God would send someone maybe out of the blue or what it felt like out of the blue to encourage me or
Hmm.
to strengthen me, um, or to say I could make it. Or to say, I see this in you, right? A lot of times I think about experiences that I've had, and I've had countless experiences. I've been blessed to go lots of places and do lots of things. And sometimes feeling at the top of my game, right?
Hmm.
And I remember one time I navigated through some tough times, but I also made it to the point of like, I felt like making impact, right? And I was being honored by an organization. And I remember the speaker, all of us are being honored. And I mean, some people, I could name you names and you'd be like, what? And I remember him saying, if you succeed and your community fails, you're a failure. And I remember thinking, like, what? Like
Wow,
this
that's
is this
good.
is we are here to honor those that have done the work, and I am certainly a young professional who has done the work. And
That's good.
I got to thinking about that, right? And I said, you're right. Like if I make it, right, whether it's with a degree or with being able to own a home or have a job or but I don't go back and reach back to my community or show up for people that maybe they don't know me, but there were people that showed up for me that I didn't know them either. I can
Mhm.
remember moving to North Carolina because as most people know, I'm not a native of North Carolina, although I have always been in the South. My parents were raised in the South. I spent my summers in the South, and North Carolina has been my home for almost 8 years now. And I remember being in an airport, and if I saw the person today, I wouldn't know who they were. And it was a perfect stranger that said, God's got you.
Wow.
I'm look, I mean, I'm like bawling my eyes out,
Wow.
right? So when you talk about like what fuels you to show up the way you show up as a leader, sometimes there were perfect strangers that showed up for me that I had no idea even knew who I was, right? Or
Wow.
knew what I was navigating through. And so that fuels me to do maybe things that I've never done before, show it for people that maybe don't feel like they have had a voice or they have had someone have a say for them or even cared to listen to their concerns, right? That
Yes.
causes me to really dig deep and to really think about what that gentleman said. If you succeed and your community fails, you're a failure.
Wow.
To be a failure. Oh, I'm showing up for community. What you mean? I got to do it today, tomorrow? But that stuck with me, right? Because I thought I had reached the height of my career and I thought I had done the work and I created the impact. And yet there was someone that reminded me there was something more for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
isn't that just
That's good.
like a real leader? We not think you already said it. Real leaders serve. That
They do.
leaders that just show up for the fanfare probably really aren't leaders. But
Absolutely.
leaders that are, they can be seen serving, they can be seen doing the work, they can be seen standing in the gap, right? Even if their name is never called, that's the kind of leader I want to be. I want to be the
Absolutely.
leader that, yes, I'm gonna fight. I got it in me. Fight for the
Yes.
people, right? But I also
Yes.
want to be the one that says that she showed up for the people. She
Yes.
believed wholeheartedly that her
Mm-hmm.
success was only success if the other people that she was helping were successful too. right? Like when I
Yeah.
give that example, like my kids are going to be fine because they have me, right? I'm an educator. I believe in teaching my own kids. But what about the kid that doesn't have me in their home? They should be better because Dr. A popped in their life or had them in their classroom or whatever. And so I believe wholeheartedly in showing up for like show up for people because somebody showed up for you. That's what fuels me, right? And there have been struggle moments. Who I don't know what leaders, I don't know anybody that has never had a hardship. I don't
Absolutely.
know any people that have ever been successful and have achieved greatness that have never had some lows,
Hmm.
right? Some moments where they were uncertain, some moments where perhaps they did not know if they could see the outcome. But once you get past that, or you have some people that are pushing you along, you can do it.
Yes.
You got
Yes.
it. Right. For us, it may be our faith and those pastors or those leaders that are in our lives or the youth, a youth person. I think about my youth leaders as a young person, how they
Yes.
poured into us as young people. We didn't want to say the speech, but they believed wholeheartedly in us saying the speech and reciting, whatever was needed. Right. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
and that stuff has shaped how we show up
Hmm.
and we're able to speak eloquently and we are able to be the voice and all those things. But if it wasn't for someone pouring into us,
Yes.
many of us would show up very differently. And so for me, that really helps me to connect. Like Angie, there are people that showed up for you well before you had a doctorate degree.
Hmm.
There were people that didn't, and my parents are not college graduates. I'm a first generation college student. But my parents always said, you will do more than I've done. You will go further than I've gone. So
So there are people that don't have the faith like we have, and it's hard for them to trust, and it's hard for them to really believe what, when people are positioned to help and support them because of all that they've had to endure in their lifetime, and in the face of all of the promises that were stolen or promises that were made that were never followed through on. It's hard for people to trust now, especially now in this time and age that we live in. So what will you do to support those people and help them to understand that your gift and your desire to support them and help them is true, and not really related or tied to anything that they've had to deal with in the past, but it's true now, it's real now, present before them and ready to go to work. How will you
yes,
support those
so
people?
so my campaign is really rooted in the people. My voice and even my leadership is rooted in the people. I believe in solutions, right? I believe in even as an educator, I've always thought, oh, my sons will be great because they have me in the home. But what about I know that's something to say, isn't it? But I
So,
believe that even the thousands of other kids or scholars that I encounter will be great because they've encountered Dr. A, right? And so I believe that it's important that relationships are built in community. Relationships are built on trust. Relationships are built on connection. And just because you're running a campaign or you're running for an office,
mhm,
people want to feel connected to the people that are leading them. They want to feel connected to the voices that are standing up for them, right? If I can't connect to the aging senior
mhm,
because my parents are yet seniors, then there may not be a connection. But I believe that because I'm the daughter of an aging population,
uh-huh,
there's a connection with that senior who I'm seeing experience some of the same things that perhaps my parents are experiencing. And so people want to feel connected. I believe in strong connections in the community that we build greater communities, we build greater individuals and leaders when we demonstrate our connectedness. Will we
yes,
all see things the same way? No. Should we understand that sometimes fear is often, or distrust is often rooted in fear because
mhm,
those are people's lived experiences? We should acknowledge that and figure out how we move forward. And so for me, it's important to understand and for the people to know that they have a voice in our campaign. They have a voice in what's said. They have a voice in who's fighting for them in Raleigh. They have a say. Oftentimes we disengage in the unpopular or the thing that seems scary because perhaps maybe we don't know how to engage, or maybe we even think it doesn't matter. But your voice does matter. If it didn't matter, then people wouldn't try to silence it. If our votes didn't matter, people wouldn't try to eliminate them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when you help people understand that, then they can connect to something or someone bigger than them. And so I believe in listening, and not just listening now while I'm on the campaign trail. I've listened before, right? I've
Mm-hmm.
I've seen parents struggle with homework, so I became the homework help,
Yes,
right?
yes,
I've seen people be thinking about where their next meal was from. And so helping my church build solutions to give out things where we don't have to, families don't have to figure out where their next meal is coming from. So I believe in being solution driven, but also people understand, acknowledging where we are, right? Let's
yes,
acknowledge where we are. We're in a space, if we're just honest and we're faith, we're believers, but we're also in a space where our democracy is at stake. That
yes,
oftentimes
absolutely.
what we've seen growing up, we've never seen or experienced what we're going through now, right? Or
Absolutely.
not, at least not to our recollection anyway,
Yeah.
right? And so we have to acknowledge that and then move forward from that. We can't stay there, right? If we stay in a place of distrust, then when the leader comes that you can trust, or the leader that comes to push us forward or help us collaborate or help us build bridges or heal broken spaces, then we'll reject that because we only see through our own lived experience. But I believe that I've been called to really help people understand and value their lived experience, but also to see the hope of the future. So that's why when I say I understand the hardships of District 60, but I
Yeah.
also understand the hope of District 60. I see the child who maybe doesn't have enough in their school, but I also see where we can make some changes so that a zip code never determines the success of a child, right? Where a family
Awesome.
is never experiencing intermittent homelessness because they can't make a livable wage and then afford to live and pay rent. Right. And so I think it's important that we acknowledge where we are, but we also move forward. And so I believe in building bridges. I believe in collaboration. I believe, I often say at my church, many hands make light work. If we all do our part,
Yes.
right? Those that are called, those that are elected, those that simply just want to step up, right? If we all do our part, then the work and the load becomes lighter. But if we rely on one person, then
Mm-hmm.
perhaps their capacity may get to shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
But if Katrina does her part in the area she has influence over, and Dr. A does her part, and the people that we're connected to do their part, then we're going to be a powerful community, right?
Absolutely.
We're
Absolutely.
going to be
Elected.
unstoppable.
What is one of the first initiatives or community priority you feel led to support or introduce for District 60?
Yes, I believe that there are three urgent priorities. Those are kind of like my platform priorities. One is education, because our future really depends on it. The
Mm-hmm.
second is housing, because really stability begins with a safe place to call home, right? All these things are interconnected. And then lastly, probably the one that's most dear to my heart is support for our seniors, our aging population. Most
Yes.
people may not know, but by 2030, there will be more 65-year-olds in the state of North Carolina than there will be 18-year-olds. And so I want to make sure that those individuals are able to age with dignity. When we talk about, um, the mother that's having to navigate through feeding one child versus the other, while our seniors, some of which are caregivers themselves, right,
Mm-hmm.
are experiencing some of the same things. They're trying to navigate, do I have medicine or do I have food?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have worked hard for the things that we now experience in our state, and they need to know that they're not forgotten, right? So that
Yes.
support that is needed for them, so that they can age in dignity. I don't, I'm living for retirement. I want somebody to care about Dr. A when she gets to be
Yes,
65 plus.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think it's really important. Those folks have really um, done their job. They've made their sacrifices, and so it's
Yes.
important that they're not a group that's forgotten. So those are my three areas of of priority. Of course, there are other things that I care about. I care about the entrepreneur and the small business owner. I care about what happens in our communities and all those things. But I also believe that all those things are really interconnected. And so
Mhm.
once we start to build solutions, and I believe we're going to build them together,
Yeah.
um, that we can really create a bigger District 60, a more brilliant
Awesome.
District 60, a more thriving District 60. So
Yes.
that's what I believe.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it. So tell us again so that all the viewers know and can kind of keep it in mind. When do we vote and what should we look for on the ballot?
Absolutely. So remember, vote Dr. A, it's a new day, but you will not see Dr. A on the ballot. There are some rules around having Dr. A and your credentials on the ballot. And so that's fine. So you'll see Angie McMichael on the ballot. Look for Angie McMichael. I'm not Angela, not to be mistaken with an Angela. I'm just Angie. And so it's Angie McMichael on the ballot. Believe it or not, if you are looking to vote by absentee ballot, you should be requesting it now. It's not too early to request your absentee ballot. Early voting, though, begins February 12th. And here's what I'm going to urge voters to do. If you plan to vote for me, and I certainly am asking for your support and the support of your loved ones, it's important that you get to the polls and you get to them early. Don't wait till March 3rd. Don't wait to November. It'll all be too late. You need to get to the polls early. When I talk about voter suppression is nothing new, right? But now it looks maybe a little different. So when you start to close voting polls that were accessible to certain communities, that's a way to suppress the vote or eliminate the vote. And so it's important that we get to the polls as early as possible. We eliminate the barriers. Take somebody with you. You know, one of the things I appreciate about just the community in District 60 is that we've done things like souls to the polls, and we've carpooled, to vote, right? Because your vote really does matter, and it
Mhm.
matters now more than ever before. So if you want to see me win the primaries, and I need to win the primaries
Yes.
March 3rd, then you've
Yes.
got to get to the polls February 12th, when they open. You got to start dropping off the absentee ballots. You got to start voting in the early voting precincts. I'm asking
Mhm.
people on February 12th, meet me at Deep River where you can start casting your vote in those early precincts, because some of the precincts or some of the polling places that were open in times past, like Washington Terrace, where I have voted for years, they're
Mhm.
not an early voting polling place. And so it's
Wow.
important that you know where to vote and how to vote. And so I'm urging people, create your voting plan. I know we're preparing for the holidays, but talk about it with your family members, your young voters. What's your
Mhm.
plan to vote in the primaries? Do you have a plan? Are you registered to vote? How can I help you? How can I assist you? We have to really vote like our life in our community is dependent upon it. When I say that our democracy is at stake, I really mean that. You can turn the television on, you can look in your community, and you
Yes.
can see the landscape is different.
Mhm.
That what people care about is very different. And I believe that when we engage in the manner that we know how to do, and when others help us get the information, then we can do some powerful things by
Absolutely.
simply casting our vote. Some people say, well, my vote really doesn't matter. It really does.
It
In
does.
fact, it matters now more than ever before. And so I know it may seem like it doesn't matter, but when you make a choice not to vote, it matters.
Mhm.
And then, in the same sense, when you choose to vote and vote for the right person, the person that's going to represent you, the person who your voice is not going to be lost with, the person whose name you recognize, who you've seen do the work in the community, then it makes a difference. And so I want people to understand that that is important. There's a population of young voters. They're registered, but somehow they don't make it to the polls early. So
Yeah.
how can we change that? How can we ensure that they make it to the polls? And if they need support and help, how can we make sure that they get there? In the same sense, our seniors, they may not be able to drive to the early voting station, but there's somebody that can drive them, right? And so how do we
Absolutely.
collectively build community and create power through the power of our vote? And so that's what I want to urge people. February 12th is early voting. Vote early. Early voting closes February 28th, right? So you need to
Absolutely.
vote
Yes.
early. And then of course the primary date is actually March 3rd. But I urge people to vote and vote early. Know your plan now. It's not to give yourself the gift before you even make it to the holidays. Give yourself the gift of knowing what your voting plan will be and who will be standing up for you in this next season.
Absolutely. That is wonderful. Spoken from a true phenomenal woman. We are
Thank you so
thankful and
much.
blessed for Dr. Angie McMichael to grace us with her presence tonight. As she has encouraged you all, vote, vote, vote. I will share the information. I will share some tips, and lots of information to get you out there if you don't know where to vote, if you're not yet registered to vote and you want that information, I'll share that with you. And I'm also going to share a little snippet that I'm going to make of Dr. Angie McMichael because she's so
Yay.
wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I think you're equally as wonderful. So the opportunity to be able to sit down and have a conversation with you. This is the kind of dialogue that really fuels where we are and where we're going. Do you know that, like you said, when we're better together and
Yes,
iron sharpens iron, right? So
yes.
as equally as much as you have complimented me, I appreciate that, but you're equally dynamic, right? The work
Thank
that you're
you.
doing, the voices and the people that you're touching, right? Our community is different because of you. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate this
Thank
opportunity
you.
this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for joining me. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Stay
Thank you,
tuned for our next
viewers.
episode.
Don't forget to vote. It's a new
Don't
day.
forget
So
to
Dr.
vote.
A. Take care.